welcome everybody to our new episode of the First Friday Showcase. Last episode, we spoke about our webinar events going on, and we also had a discussion on SBDC Day, which was March 16th, and some different ways to get involved with your local center. This episode, we have GA Brian Kennerly on, and Julian Boykins as usual, and we're going to talk about our webinars going on again, and we're going to have a discussion on search engine optimization and kind of writing digital content and kind of the best practices for that. So first off, we're going to go over the consultant corner for the month of March, and Julian's going to kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yep. So our consultant for the month of March was Carl Kraus, who is a senior business consultant. He manages Temple University's Ambler campus, SBDC, and also serves as an adjunct professor at the Fox School of Business at Temple. And Carl also has started and operated 2 independent firms, 4 new business units, and has advised over 800 clients and companies through all phases of operations. And as always, our consultant for the month is featured in our PA SBDC newsletter, which comes out every second and fourth Monday.
Thank you, Julian. And now I'm going to go over 2 webinar events that we have coming up. Again, there's multiple events throughout the month of April, but these are just kind of 2 highlight events. So the first one is presented by Tauhi Shupka, and that is what is emotional intelligence and why is it important to business? And this is basically going to be going over the 5 elements of emotional intelligence. That's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And basically they're going to be Tauhi's going to be talking about how to use these skills to build a stronger team and just a better workplace in general. So that is going to be April 14th at 1 p.m. and that's presented online, as most of our webinar events are. And the next one we have is coming up April 27th, so a little later in the month, at 11:30 a.m. And that is presented by Jeremy Schmoyer. And it's going to be a lunch and learn human resources. Obviously it's online. It's not, you're actually going to have lunch, but it's around lunchtime. And it's going to have a discussion about HR and the difficulties that businesses have been facing with human resources and kind of how to overcome those difficulties and just tackle the issues. So we're going to go ahead and pivot into our topic of discussion for this episode, and that is SEO. So, Brian, could you maybe tell us a little bit about SEO? What is it? Just kind of why is it important to small businesses?
Definitely. Well, first, thank you guys for having me on the podcast. Appreciate the introduction, Zach and Julian. So SEO is search engine optimization, and it's a very important thing for businesses, especially online, that maybe a lot of people don't know about or are pretty vague about. But search engine optimization is pretty much, in simpler terms, the ways in which you can push your business to the front when people are searching on engines such as Google or Bing or Yahoo, whatever they use, but ways to optimize your platform on the search engine. So when someone searches for pizza and you own a pizza shop, you're making sure that you're one of the first people on that first page, because as a lot of us know, we rarely go to the second and third pages of those search engines. So it's really just pushing your company to the front, and you can go through it in a few ways. A lot of ways are such things like backlinks and keywords that you use on your webpage, and things called meta tags, which we'll dive in a little bit more. Keywords are important in a lot of ways. So like I said, if you have a pizza shop, you want to use the word pizza, cheese, those things a lot, because when someone searches for a pizza shop, of course you want pizza to come up, but you also want it to come up when someone's searching for pizza recipes or their favorite artisan cheeses or things like that. So keywords are very important, using your keyword as much as possible. Zach, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that's also why a lot of websites nowadays you'll see are implementing blogs and blog posts, because some of that information is hard to naturally, organically put into your site. So, using plugins and third-party sites that can generate these keywords for you and then kind of implementing what you find into a blog post can be a great way to get that information onto your site.
I think organically was a really good way to put it, because you don't want to just force a ton of keywords in there
Yeah.
or muddy your site up and make it unattractive to look at.
Yeah, and it's going to be obvious, right? So
Yeah, you don't want to force it. Yeah.
yeah. And I know you touched on backlinks. That's kind of like when you have links to your site on other websites. Google really there's a couple things that Google really likes, like the algorithm, and that's one of them. So it's good to build relationships with other businesses, or maybe comment on, SEO takes a lot of work behind the scenes. It's not just, you can't just publish a blog, put it up, and then Google's like, okay, you're on the first page. It's kind of like building your business, but online. It takes a lot of behind the scenes work that a lot of people don't really know about.
Yeah, Zach, I think we were talking about that before. Especially like social media, you always have to be posting and staying up to date and updating your page and everything. I think the analogy you used was spring cleaning. You got to always maintain pretty much.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you're making the edits, and you don't want broken links on your site. You don't want old images that are outdated, or information that's outdated. If you changed your hours, make sure you're going in, making those changes. And speaking of writing, I know for our website, Brian, we do a lot of writing in WordPress. Could you maybe talk about some useful plugins that could be used for that, like SEO in WordPress?
Most definitely. So WordPress, for those of you that aren't super aware, is this platform which it helps you write blogs and content and such for your website. Like Zach said, we've been using it a ton, especially in these last few months for our website, as we're making a new one for the state office SBDC. But with WordPress, there's a lot of helpful installing or plugins and installations you can make, such as Yoast. Yoast has been super helpful to me these past few months. So Yoast is a plugin that pretty much assesses the readability and how well your SEO optimization is coming along. And it goes through and it reads your work, and it pretty much tells you edits you can make to boost both the readability, so how well your blogs and your content reads, but also how well this content will help you optimize your search engine results.
And actually, just to add in, part of SEO is readability, so that it goes hand in hand there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did not even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Readability and visibility.
Readability and visibility, that's a good way to put it. But no, it'll outline a lot of key parts. A lot of key parts of the outlines are things such as transition words. A lot of people don't think about that, which, like you said, boost the readability, but also boost how well you're getting your visibility. Other things are images. I know you touched upon that. You don't want outdated images, but I've also noticed a lot with Yoast, you want relevant images. So sometimes you want to slap an image on there just to fill space. But if it's not a relevant image to something that you're talking about, and doesn't pertain very well to it, then it's not really going to boost your SEO very much.
Also, image descriptions can be pretty important too, because when you search for something on Google and it comes up on Google Images, it's because there was a description that matched what you were searching for that image. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like a whole different search engine in a way. Google Images versus Google. So it's important to add descriptions and keywords to your images as well.
And that definitely touches on, as you said, a lot of it, building your SEO optimization and your website is on the back end. Like things people don't think about. It's not as simple as just, like you said, slapping an image up there. It's going back and on the back end using certain key phrases and captions with those images to really optimize it. But no, Yoast is an amazing tool for all of those things we touched on and a few more. And it's sort of humbling in a way. It goes through and you're used to writing in a certain way or expressing yourself in a certain way. And it's like, no, it's not the way it's going to get it to the front of Google. But those changes are essential, like you said, to get that visibility that you need.
I've experienced that as well. My first few times writing, it's like, you're writing, you're done, and you're like, okay, there's both big red dots. There's this needs improvement. You're like, oh, geez, okay. Well,
I thought that was pretty good, but I guess I gotta change it.
Yeah. They're like, there's a lot wrong here, and you got to go back and make the edits.
Yoast is really good about that too, though. It helps you. It'll highlight what's wrong too. So it'll say you need to fix. You're overusing the keyword. In some cases, it's like way too obvious. It'll highlight where you have every time you say the word, and then you can go through and say, okay, well, I could probably use a synonym here or
Yeah.
something like that. So it's also very helpful with the highlighting of it.
And there's also other different tools that you can use in addition to Yoast or whatever plugin you're using, mainly to find keywords. And there's a lot of tools out there now where you can search a word and it'll give you a list of keywords, how easy it is to rank with that keyword, and like how many times people are searching it in a day. So keyword generator tools like that are really useful because then you're not just like guessing your keyword, thinking it's like a good one and nobody's searching for it. Because you can write an optimized post for, let's say you're a landscape company and you're selling dirt. Dirt as a keyword is not good. Like no one's looking up like buy dirt. So you go on this, there's like different platforms. 3 that I'm familiar with. It's SEMrush, Ahrefs, and Ubersuggest, and they all have keyword generator tools. And they're all, SEMrush is paid, Ahrefs and Ubersuggest are free, and you can kind of play around in there to generate keywords and different SEO. It's like an SEO tool. It's very cool stuff. There's a lot of options in those websites. So, and another thing to add on is kind of paid advertisements. This is kind of a whole nother topic, but it's kind of like the way to like cheat your SEO to the front, because it's kind of like a paid boost in a way where it'll bump you up above someone who has better SEO than you, but at a price, right? And you're not really better to Google, but you can pay to get there. So it's something to keep in mind if you have the funds.
I think even with that though, balance is essential. You don't want to just pay to play. I feel like pay to push your way to the top. I feel like people notice that. It's just like paying to get to the top versus if you do a little paid advertisement, but also once they get to your website, it's very like you said, up to date, very spring cleaned, all that. So I do think it's about balance. You shouldn't, even if you have the funds, just push yourself to the top that way.
Yeah, because you don't want to be the first ranked on Google and then have a terrible website. You're just going to have your bounce rate is going to be out of control. No one's going to stay there. So Julian, do you want to maybe add like a few ways, we're talking about staying up to date and updating your website and stuff. Is there any ways you can suggest like a small business owner who doesn't have a lot of time usually? Like how can they stay up to date on this information without committing too much time or resources to it?
Yeah, I think a big thing is taking advantage of those keyword generated tools, definitely, because I think the main goal with SEOs is more publicity and visitors to your website. And I mean, you want your site to be viewed by the most amount of people possible to potentially bring in more clients and customers. So the more visibility you have, I mean, that's like the end goal is to get more people to your site and get to the top of that search engine. So, I mean, I just feel like taking advantage of like WordPress and those keyword generated tools are just very key.
What about like, subscribing to newsletters to stay up to date on like because SEO, kind of like social media, it's always changing, right? And what's best today for SEO and to Google
might not be best tomorrow.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I would say, just staying up to date, maybe subscribe to a newsletter, follow a few social media accounts that kind of give you the latest news.
I think we talked about in the last episode, like with the SBDC day, just like staying engaged is like definitely important. You gotta see what everybody else is doing to help your business. So if, like you said, something that might be important today might not be important tomorrow, you always got to stay updated and stay in the loop pretty much.
Definitely. I feel like a lot, especially maybe small business owners, treat the website as a one and done. they get their web page up and running. I think, that's all fine. But I feel like the businesses are like the body, you can't work out once or twice and then think you're going to be feeling great for the next
You gotta
month. It
maintain.
takes maintenance, and definitely maintenance. So like, I think
you can tell when there's a site that's set and, set up and never looked at again, because it's usually aged.
much,
Yeah, you
much
can't
so.
just set it up and then just leave it. You gotta keep up with it.
Mhm.
I mean, nothing is not nothing, but few things are worse than when you just get to that website and it's over date, like you said, or out of date. That turnover is crazy, because if I go to your website and it says your restaurant's open till 9 p.m. and then, COVID changes happen and now it's only open till 7 and I come at 8:30 and it's not open, I feel like that's gonna deter me from probably going back to that website and business for a little bit. So definitely stay on top, especially with changes of hours and things like that. But the website maintenance is key.
I think it's worth noting too that your website is usually the first impression today in 2022. I think a lot of people, before going anywhere, rarely will I personally go somewhere without looking them up. So, we said about the pizza thing. Let's say you own a pizza restaurant, right? Just keep playing it. Let's say you're going there. I'm gonna try to look at your Google reviews. I'm gonna check out your website. I'm going to see what's going on. And I will say a lot of restaurants, like smaller business restaurants, usually don't have the best website. So, there's a lot of, I think it's something that's kind of put to the wayside for a lot of people.
Definitely.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
No, but I definitely is very important. The digital storefront is the new like brick and mortar. So it's not about having the showy outsides anymore as much. It is, but it's not as much about grabbing their attention online. But like you said, that first impression is key. That first 5-10 seconds, you meet someone or something.
It's interesting how it's changed. Like you said, the digital storefront. I never thought of it like that. Like before, you're walking down Main Street or whatever, and you choose where to go by what looks good and what's popping off. But nowadays, you might see a place, look them up, and then decide to go in.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to add, Julian? Anything else? I don't know.
I like that with the digital storefront. I haven't heard that before.
Also, I feel like it's same with social media, because a lot of places like that is also your digital storefront. So if I'm gonna look at reviews for your restaurant, I don't always use Google reviews or something, because I don't know. I feel like there are oftentimes maybe a lot of bots or paid comments.
There are usually, I will say, from working for a startup business, once upon a time, we did promote people. Let's say that we promoted them to give us positive reviews. So they're not always truthful and honest the way you might think that they are.
Exactly.
The negative reviews are always true though. Like they if someone has a problem, they're gonna let them know.
Yep.
But I feel like people notice that, especially on Google and stuff. So I feel like they'll often go to your Facebook or social media just because that peer-to-peer advertising or marketing is always much more coercive than a paid or seemingly paid comment. So keeping your other digital storefront, your social media up to date helps not only with the visibility and the search engine optimization, but helps with your credibility and your desirability a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think it's an all-encompassing thing. Your online presence is not just your website, not just your social media, but both of them, and also how you interact with others on those accounts. So that's something else to keep in mind too. But we won't get into that for the sake of time. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the discussion for me. I don't know. Like, again, do you guys have anything else to add there?
No. We do write a good amount of blogs concerning both social media and SEO marketing. So once our site is up and launched, you can always take a look at that if you wanted more information or more in-depth dive, or just something you can read and look at. I know with podcasts, it sort of comes at you fast.
Yeah. That will be, I'm not quite sure when that's going to be launched, but it will be pasbdc.org. I believe will be the domain name for that. So I'm sure if you follow us on social media, you will hear about it, or in a future podcast episode, I'm sure we'll touch base on the new site. But that does kind of wrap everything up here. So thank you everyone for watching and listening to our 12th episode of the First Friday Showcase. Next episode will be May 6th, and it will include, as always, Julian and myself, and a discussion or a featured consultant. So to view our training events, the webinars that I discussed earlier, that's going to be pasbdc.ecenterdirect.com. You can find all our webinar events there and webinar events from other centers as well, not just Kutztown. And that does it for now. Take care, everybody. And again, thanks for watching.